Welcome to our second session with Shaman Rakhee. And today our topic is parenting and childhood experiences. Rakhi has been dealing with people with depression, anxiety, and lots of stuff. I mean, has been working with lots of people. It's and being a mother herself would be great to get her input on this topic today. Hi, Rakhi.
Hi, Sophia. Namaste. Namaste, everyone. This is a topic that I'm also deeply connected to as a mother and also as someone who has been working with people struggling with this problem. I keep seeing in my practice the importance of parenting, the importance of how we can help our children, how we can help ourselves in the process as well. So how we can reparent ourselves in many ways, work with ourselves, work with our past, work with our emotional, spiritual problems, so that we are not passing it on to our children and we are not forcing our children to be the perfect little beings that we want them to be. Parenting is not at all about perfection. Parenting is something far from perfection. Of course, there are many ways to parent a child, so we cannot speak about all those different ways. But what I would like to share this time is some of the things that I have noticed with a lot of the people that I work with.
In your years of experience, what have you observed? What is it that you see as a factor during their childhood? What is it that you observe that we can learn from?
I feel one of the main things that I have observed is not just of course, there is a huge part of trauma or emotional abuse with children, but on the other side, what I see is a lack, something that, because when you look at trauma or abuse, that is something that happens to a child, right? But I want to also speak about something that doesn't happen to a child, and that is the right response. Parents fail to respond to a child's emotional needs. So when a child is not receiving the right response, it causes a lot of neglect. This is what and this creates a big empty space of emotional neglect, and crisis starts from that space. Because we as humans, we feel for a reason, right? We somehow we feel. So it also shows that we are coded to feel for a reason. So we don't have to neglect. We can learn ourselves, and also we can teach our children how to allow them to feel. Our feelings carry deep messages to our heart, and is also helping us to connect to the beautiful wisdom of our body, and is also taking messages to our brain. So there is a lot happening when we are feeling.
When you say neglect, the emotional neglect they get, and this might not be intentional from the parents.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize, probably, right? Most of the time they don't even realize that they have been neglecting.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
how as a parent, how do I know that I have been neglecting, right, a child's emotional need?
Yes, most of the times, yes, it is absolutely not a conscious reason that the parents are neglecting. It is the way I would say most of us, or even all of us, have been programmed, right? A home has a certain rhythm. Every house has a certain rhythm. So we cannot say that parents are consciously ignoring. Parents are also people. We are simple people. We are trying to do the best we can. So a lot of us, we don't know that we are consciously participating in creating this kind of a crisis, or we are starting. It's almost like we are creating this spark, creating this fire the wrong way in this child system. So the first thing that we can do to start changing the dynamics of this is also being willing to look at our past our needs, our emotional, spiritual, psychological needs, and to make sure that we are not forcing the child to be a coach. We're not forcing the child to be our personal healer. A lot of the time there is a neglect in listening to what the child is feeling. Parents, they feel a big push, a need to explain themselves. They over explain themselves so much that the child shuts down.
Let me repeat what you said, which is, I think, very important. Listening to their feelings, listening to not what they're saying, but listening to their feelings. Quite important, right?
Yes, very, very important. Because there is a beautiful sacred space where feelings can go, feelings travel faster there than words. There is a non-verbal communication that is happening right there, right in front of you. So as a parent, if our heart is open, if we know who we are, even in a small way, of course, nobody knows, every little cell. But when we are on that path, when we are working on ourselves, we are also beginning to look at our child with different set of eyes. So we will allow the child to show up as he or she is. So we are meeting the child, and we are only there to simply feel, simply allow the child to be present. When the child feels that I am heard, I'm allowed to be who I am. I'm allowed to feel this grief. I'm allowed to feel this sadness and hurt. And I'm allowed to feel this fear, that the child is so much more liberated, because it's not an action the parents commit. It's the inaction. That's where the gap widens. So when we are looking at all the things that we should be doing for our children, we fail to look at the part of inaction. Where are we not responding? Where are we not? What are the things that we are not willing to give time? So when you are thinking in terms of being a provider, being a loving, caring parent, making time for them, to simply letting them, giving them all the time so that they are sharing their feelings and they are showing up with all that they're feeling is very important.
When you say giving them the space of being who they are, I think we as parents sometimes really fail there, right? Even though it's for their interest, we would say because we love them, but somewhere like we have our own sets of expectations. We have our own sets of the way we see them growing and becoming something, or successful, the definition of our success.
Mhm.
So that sometimes would be not in sync with what they really are or what they really are supposed to be. Universe has a plan, but we have our own set of things that we have for them, and we call it our dreams, for them, and it is all out of love. No, it's not, it's all out of love, but there is a point where it could be very highly conflicting with who the kid actually is,
Mhm.
and we not accepting that, and we have our own dreams that we kind of try to push on them, and it's all in the name of love.
That is the sad part. It's all done in the cover of love. Let's say it like that. It's a cover, because in one way, or even if you look at it in many, many, many ways, it is actually not love. It's control, right? We want to control the destiny. We want to control the future of this child we think that we have created. So we think that this child is an extension of me, right? This child is an extension of who I am. So everything that I think is good, everything that I value, everything that I feel is successful and beautiful and wonderful and necessary. So all of the things that are coming from my ego mind, I feel that I have the right to implement it. I have the right to push this child. I have the right to control, again, manipulate this child's destiny. So last episode, we also spoke a little bit about being a people pleaser and being a manipulator. So if for new people who are watching, if you are interested to know that part, please take a look at our previous episode. So that is what we are doing, right? We are trying to make sure that our children are socially acceptable. They're accepted in the society. So that deep fear, we somehow want to present it as love. We think, and we are 100% sure, most parents are 100% sure, I do this out of love for my child. In many ways, we know deep down we do this because we are terrified. We are afraid. We want our child to belong somewhere. We want our child to be cheered on. We want a child to be accepted. So what I see in my practice is that a lot of this kind of parenting leaves a lot of guilt and shame, deep-rooted guilt and deep shame in people. So these beautiful children, they grow up as adults who carry a lot of shame with them. They always feel they're not good enough. So the first thing, if I may share a few things that I have noticed, the very first thing is feeling guilty that you are not enough or that you don't show enough. So in many ways, when you are dealing with people, if you're someone who is constantly feeling guilty that, oh, I didn't do enough, I didn't care for them enough, I must show more care, more love, because you have a deep guilt which is sitting inside of you, which is always driving you into overdoing. And another thing is if you are neglecting your own needs continuously, and if you're feeling that the entire group or entire family's happiness is resting on your shoulders, this is again coming from that kind of parenting. And this is something that a lot of us can relate to, right? We all feel that when we are in a group or when we are at home, we feel that the atmosphere, the happiness of every single person in that house depends on you. And the third thing will be if you have struggle trusting people. This is also something that I constantly see. The trust within yourself is so broken that you cannot trust another person. Even if someone is kind to you, even if someone is giving you a compliment, you can't take it. You can't, because you can't trust the person. Because from a very young age, you have been manipulating yourself. You have been neglecting your own needs. So you don't know what your emotions are. Where is it going? How to connect to those deep wisdom, those deep, beautiful, secret pathways within you.
So you as a child has always been tweaking yourself to make your parent figure happy, because this is what makes them happy. This is what
Yes,
makes them proud.
absolutely. Yes, if you are feeling that you're responsible, especially your parents' emotions, but when you are older, it becomes your partner's emotion or your children's emotions or your friends. So you're always feeling that you're responsible for other people's emotions. As you know, I always want to add one more, just one more. Maybe that one line will help someone. So another thing is when you meet someone in trouble in your life, it could be a friend, a neighbor, or a colleague. If you are feeling this really, really, really deep need to fix their problems, to help them in some way, and if you're going beyond all means, you're going above and beyond to rescue this person from their problem. These 5 things are really the red flags of understanding that, okay, did I have a dysfunctional childhood? Where are these things coming from? Of course, in our culture, a lot of these things which I mentioned now is celebrated upon, right? Like, oh, you are so selfless. Oh, you're not selfish. Oh, you are wonderful. You are loving. You're caring. You're like a mother. You're so giving. These things are celebrated in most cultures, I would say, all around. These things are, these kind of attributes, qualities are always cheered upon without knowing this from the other side. So for the person who is going through this, or a person who is having these patterns, this is the way that this person might lead to severe stress problems, depression, all kinds of disorders, sickness, burnout. So these are the things that parents can also consciously look into themselves and ask, am I making my child conscious about their own existence? Am I allowing my child to simply be? Or am I in some way expecting that my child will be my savior, or my child will be compensating for all the trouble that I have? Because when we are questioning ourselves, there is a chance or a possibility to look at it from a different angle and to make a change. As you know, we are all trying to do the best that we can. We don't know it all. We don't know everything. We are trying. So this is something I really wish that many parents, many adults will just make time to ask these questions, these 5 points. Ask it to yourself. Check in with yourself. Sit with yourself. Try to feel into these emotions from a very honest way, because this is how you can slowly reprogram yourself, slowly
Sometimes,
reparent yourself.
so sometimes what you missed in the childhood, the parenting, like what you said, you might have to reparent yourself, right?
Yes,
That's
yes,
the only,
absolutely.
that's the only way, rather than going back and saying, "Oh, this is it. My childhood was miserable, or I had this neglect, and I had this,
Mm-hmm.
and I had that, and that's why I am like this at this point of time." And now it's on you that, okay, and that's not because it was not intentional. Parents never do it. Most of the time, never do it intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
It's ignorance most of the time. So in that case, what I am supposed to do at this point of time is not be the victim, but take it upon
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Yes,
Be
absolutely. Take
the
the responsibility. Yes, don't run away and don't hide behind the mask of victimhood, because you will suffer. Your children will suffer. Everybody around you will suffer. So the some of the things that we can do when we are reparenting is also setting a reasonable expectation for ourselves as well, and also for our children. So this is again a learning time for you as a parent, right? When someone decides that, okay, I am not happy with the way I am connecting to my child, what can I do? And also accept, first of all, accepting that you did have, in one way or the other, a dysfunctional family set up. So you've learned a lot of things that are not helpful for you. And so accepting that, and also acknowledging and really being compassionate to your own parents, so that you are not going into that victim mode and blaming them, but taking responsibility in your own hands, so that you can show your child how it's done. That's how they learn the best, right? You're showing them how you are taking care of your own needs. That's the biggest thing that we, in I would say most of us in our generation, and also the previous generations, we are always taught to drop our needs and run behind someone else's need. But I absolutely love the idea, and I share it with a lot of my clients, about the oxygen mask that drops when you're in a flight, when you're in an airplane, right? You have to keep it first. You have to help yourself first, and then you help anyone sitting with you. So that is exactly that. You help yourself first so you can be there for your child. So you keep a regular check, regular routine, a regular ritual. You are committing to that process. You're not just saying, okay, this had happened to me and I don't know any better. This is how I am raised and I came out pretty all right. So, so there should be some things that can work out with this kind of parenting style. So if you want to change, don't neglect or hurt yourself. Don't neglect it. So you have to learn to take care of your own inner child, your inner being. You have to come in terms with your own past. So then making a new system, a new rhythm in your home, knowing where you were unhappy or what made you unhappy, what was lacking, what you would have liked. So from that space, you can teach yourself what you value, what should be the main thing, the main theme in your home, or what should be the most valued feeling in your house. So these are some ways in which you can help yourself to reparent yourself so that you are able to meet your child from a space of no demands, absolutely no demands.
So Rakhi, when, like you said, showing them, living that life is more important than telling them, this is how it has to be done, So what we see always is, the elders tell us, as kids, you get to hear all the theories, all the value system, moral science, but they don't see the parents or the elders around them actually doing most of the things. So what they actually, it's a conflict. You have to be humble, you have to be honest, you have to be giving, and then they don't see you giving. They don't see you, being humble, or they don't see you being honest in real life scenarios. And then, but you're always taught this is how you should do. So the as a child, as a small child, I think they look up to you and they say, there's a conflict in what I'm being told and what I see people around me are doing. Right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I think that's where we fail actually being a parent.
Yes, I sincerely feel, and I agree 100%. Yes, we must lead them by our own example. The things that we can't do, how can we ask these sweet little creatures to do? These sweet little beings, how can we ask them to do, right? Yes. So that is also why I spoke about the expectation. Why do we have that kind of expectation? Where is it coming from? It comes from our own fear that we are not good enough. Our children are not good enough. So the expectation that we ourselves set for ourselves and also for our children, that is where we need to be very honest and very honestly looking at. That one of the things that I absolutely love about shamanic way of looking at life and shamanic wisdom tradition is also it really comes down to always being honest with yourself. It's very raw, and that is also why I think a lot of people don't like that path, because we are programmed to take the easy route. Yes. You're programmed to just blame someone, maybe blame a planet, blame some other things, right? It's like, oh yeah, my stars are doing this, I am not doing this. Oh, the planets are doing this, I am not responsible. That's great, because you don't have any responsibility, right? You can blame everyone, including the planets, but you just don't want to change. So when you want to change your story, the first thing you need to be willing to do is being honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself, you cannot change your story. You just can't change your story if you're not being real. So from
Yes.
that space, you know that you cannot expect things from these beautiful little beings when you don't even want to do the things. If you can't switch off the computer after 2 hours or 1 hour, how can you ask your child to do that? Right? So you have to show them that, hey, there is another world outside of, whatever it is. It can be computer, it can be anything, right? So show them what you value the most. Show them what you feel would be wonderful for them to experience, not force it down on them, but show them the world the way you feel it's beautiful. So let them see that. Let them come in contact with that magic, and maybe a spark will be lit. Maybe the light will be lit in their hearts. So as parents, that is our role, right? We are guiding them. Our job is we can show them the possibilities. We can show them all kinds of beauty and magic and wonderful things in this world, and also help them to see the value and all the wonderful values that we want them to learn.
This leads to my next question, and it's always, parenting is equal to love. And the way I have seen people express love to a large extent is they're worried, constantly worried about kids. They're all constantly worried about the future, about their health. So the expression of love is worry. A beautiful thing that I've read somewhere: the opposite of love is not hate, but it's fear. So in the absence of love
Mhm,
is where you see fear.
mhm,
So, and in parenting, it's very, I find it very conflicting, where love is equivalent to fear. You're always,
mm,
anxious,
yes.
anxious about the kid. So that anxiety, that worry about, what will happen tomorrow, how will their future turn out to be, how will they turn out to be from every aspect, you know. So is it love actually?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. How can it be love when it is bringing you misery, right? Love never brings you suffering. It's not. It doesn't bring you bondage. It's not putting you in a cage, right? So it is definitely an absence of love. So when you worry that much, you must know that you have to work on trust. So you have no trust in the universe. You have no trust in the great circle of life. You have no trust in anything about your own ego, limited ego mind, where you feel that it's my child and he or she has all the right to succeed, right? And when that doesn't happen, you are devastated because you think, how can it happen? I did everything right. So there is a lot of injustice that you're feeling, right? So it is an absence of love. So there are lots of insecurities that are rising within that person. And this is why every parent has to work on their spiritual, emotional insecurities. Get to know yourself. Get to know what you are about. What are your biggest fears? What are your biggest strengths? How can you build on trust? How can you connect to this beautiful planet? And I am a mother too, and I am heavily working on these things as well. So it is not that I know everything, and my son is having the most perfect parenting, and we try. We are always trying, but I try to remember all these things that I shared with all of you right now, because these are the things that I myself have to remind myself. I don't want to fall in fear. Where is this feeling coming from? Of course, we have the beautiful responsibility to raise this child, for whatever limited time. We don't own this beautiful little being, right? We don't own this child. The child has simply come through you, and that is very temporary. And in many ways, I have truly felt that should be shared with as many many parents as possible. Hundreds of years ago, indigenous cultures had these understandings, right? Because
Lost it.
yes, and then it was lost, because I truly believe that the Great Spirit, we are the sons and daughters of the Great Spirit. Our parents have simply been a vessel through which we have taken this form. And that wisdom was one of the biggest wisdom that came to me when I had to look at my own parents and make peace with them. So I truly felt that that is one of the most beautiful revelations or beautiful wisdom that somehow came into my system, to understand about forgiveness, understanding about letting things the way it is, and also knowing that you can still be compassionate. Parents tried their best. At least most of us are lucky or fortunate to have had loving parents. They were not perfect parents, but they were loving parents, right? So we can be compassionate towards them. We don't have to blame them for all the things that they failed to do. So all the things that they provided us, that is okay. That is enough. So it's our turn now to look at the things that we can change, so that we don't have to have the same dynamics with our children. And again, our children will take it forward.
So yeah, so I think that wisdom, like what Khalil Gibran said, is very important. Your children are not your children.
Mm-hmm.
They just come through you. You don't
Yes.
own their soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't own their soul. They come through you. You don't own their soul. And at that acceptance, I think if that comes into us, is where that whole expectations and all
Yes.
that, they are our mini me, they are my
Mm-hmm.
extensions.
Yes.
That whole thing disappears.
Mm-hmm.
They just came through me. They are not mine.
Yes, absolutely. Because
And
when we look
and
at them, mm-hmm.
I'm blessed to have them.
Yes, yes, it's such a beautiful blessing to be able to take care of that little beautiful treasure that could have been anywhere in this planet, right? But that soul has chosen this path, this lineage, this line, these parents to come to life on this planet. So it's a beautiful blessing. And yes, it is a blessing that will test us. It is a blessing that can, drive us to the wall. It's a blessing that can be extremely challenging. But knowing that it is a beautiful treasure and we are only caretakers changes a lot of dynamics, a lot of the energy around parenting.
So to end, Raki, to end, the final question would be: so, what should be ideally the goal of parenting then?
I feel that the role of parenting is to allow expression to come through this beautiful child or children that we have. That's simply the goal, just simply to allow the freedom so that the child can express his or her wisdom, his or her talent or gifts or whatever you want to call it, to simply allowing that expression. That to me is one of the biggest goals of parenting. So you are not trying to implement anything, demand anything in that role. You are allowing the child to simply be who or what she is about or what he is about.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for your
so much.
beautiful energy, your presence, your time, your willingness to bring on questions and topics like this. I'm so grateful that we are talking about this and we are putting it out there.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Raki.
Thank
Yeah,
you
I look
too.
forward to more. Yeah, thank you so much. I
Thank
look
you. And
forward to
thank you for
more
everyone watching.
talking to you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Till we
Thank
talk
you. Bye
again.
bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.